All right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another edition of Massive Action Monday. I am really excited for the conversation today because there's so many exciting things going on right now in the world of business. And I actually got something that I want to share with you guys, and we're going to jump right into it because what I want to show you today is something that I am learning more and more and more that is seriously important. So here's what we're going to do. I want everybody right now to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. And I want to make sure that you share this with at least one other person, because what I'm about to share with you today for this Massive Action Monday is going to help you this week, not just, not thinking about a year from now, not thinking about 10 years from now. No. We're going to talk about massive action. I'm talking about right now. Things you can apply to your life right now. And this one right here is going to last you well beyond. This right here has been one of the things that I've been looking at, that I've been pondering about my life and just building a business. So when you start talking about your life and your business, a lot of times, unfortunately, as you are building one, the other may suffer just for a little bit. Right? And sometimes you need to have some of those working agreements, especially at home with your family, to say, hey, listen, I'm going to be pretty busy focused over here. So that might mean there might be some things that I may or may not be able to do. Right? There may be some things that I might be struggling to be able to be a part of for a little while. Right? Maybe, family life is up. Right? It's just all in on the family, but that just might mean that business is just kind of flat. Not in a bad reason, but because you're putting more priorities on that. And so I wanted to give you something that you can leverage for your life that I am beginning to leverage as well. And in order to do so, I want to kind of talk about a company that many of us know about, but we have yet to understand the real application of this company, right? And the reason I say that is because, man, what I found out earlier today blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. And I'm not just saying that because, it's just something to say. No, I'm saying to you today, it blew my mind when I saw it. And so I want to share this with you so that you get a really good understanding of what I'm talking about. So, all right, let's dive into this. How many of you are familiar with the company Rolex? You're familiar with Rolex, right? The watch company, right? Rolex is amazing. Okay, Rolex has been around for years, right? Rolex is the company. When you talk about companies that have done really well, Rolex is that company, okay? But some of us don't understand how Rolex is operating. Some of us don't understand what they've done. So if you actually go diving in on Rolex's operating model, you'll find out, I bet when I say this, most people don't even know this. Rolex is actually a large business, does great. But Rolex is actually a non-profit. You didn't know that, did you? I know you're looking at me right now Chris, there's no way Rolex is a non-profit. Go look it up for yourself. Go ahead. Go look it up. Rolex is actually a non-profit. Let me tell you about kind of the start of Rolex and why we're using Rolex today to talk as we go through Massive Action Monday. So here's what you got to understand. This is so crazy. When I found this out, I almost flipped my lid. I'm like, wait a second, what? The luxury brand of Rolex is a non-profit? Are you kidding me right now? How is that possible, right? So here's what you got to know. The company was established back in 1945, okay? The founder is the Waldorf family, okay? Now, here's what you need to know about the Waldorf family. When his wife died, she died in 1944. Her name was Florence Frances Waldorf, okay? She died in 1944. When she died, Hans Wilsdorf transferred 100% of ownership of his Rolex, of Rolex to the foundation in 1960. They have literally been operating and controlling the entire brand that you and I know of as Rolex. Now, by the way, just so you know, I'm not a watch person, so I'm like really non-biased and very objective with this conversation today. But I know some people who are like serious about the brand of Rolex, right? So think about this for a second. This guy's wife dies, right? And he moves his entire company into her foundation, which is a nonprofit, and they've been operating from that nonprofit ever since. Now you got to be asking yourself, wait a second. Wow, Rolex is a nonprofit. That must mean that there's something that they've done really well in order to put what I like to call a frame around their business. So let's talk about what is this frame that they put? How did they like put their business in such a way that when people hear the words Rolex, people go, oh no, that's a legit company. That company right there, that's a company, right? Like when people think about Rolex, they think, okay, this is a premium brand, right? When we think of premium brands, you would definitely put them up there. Now, you know what's interesting about thinking about, when we talk about like Rolex, right? Is many of us have not thought about like, what is this frame and how did they get there, right? Like, what did they do? And to break this down and why this applies to your business and life is here's what I want you to understand. When we make a frame, right? And I'm just going to show you what I mean. When we have a frame in life, okay? When we have a frame, here's what I want you to understand. The frame, as a definition, it separates the outside from the inside. To state that a picture in a world of its own and not part of the surrounding world. So what does it do? It provides what they call visual control. This is interesting. So what happens is 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 different sizes. Here's what's going on. This frame is separating everything that's out here visually so that you focus on what's going on right here in the middle, right? When we frame things, what I want you to understand is anytime you put a frame around anything, it gives you the opportunity now to really have people focus in on something. And so why am I talking about this? Because I'm telling y'all right now, clearly the frame that they've put around Rolex must be, it's a luxury brand, right? When you think about Rolex, you don't think of like, some smaller watch brand that costs $20 in like your local department store, right? Like the brand of Rolex watches goes up in value, right? There are people who like literally are like really into like the watches and what they mean and like all these different versions, right? Like, but it's because the company has put a frame around this brand. Why is this important? I want to give you guys something that you really want to start thinking about. When you think about your business, when you think about your life, there's a few things I want you to pay attention to. Number 1, F stands for function. And we're just going to write out this acronym. F stands for function. I really want us to get really clear about the function, or you can call it like your purpose. Like, what are you doing? Not just the function. Like there's a couple different functions, right? Like you can look at purpose, right? You can look at the skills you have, right? You can think about like so many different things, but let's just start here, right? When you think about the function of what you have to offer, what is it that you bring to the table? Okay. And by the way, how are you getting better to raise your skills? I think too many of us have stopped learning after our degree. Too many of us have stopped learning because, well, it's gotten me this far and it does me okay, so why rock the boat? And I'm telling you that I think the more you go through life, the more things that you do, the more skills that you acquire, you raise the value of your function. What you're actually capable of doing, right? That's what I like to look at function. Capable of doing. What are you actually capable of doing? You know what's crazy? Sometimes we discredit our function. How do I know? Well, when you came into this world, you couldn't do anything. Couldn't feed yourself, couldn't clothe yourself, you couldn't even hold up your own head. Somebody taught you how to do all those things. So you gained the strength and the muscle, and then you grew, right? And then your brain developed and you were able to learn certain things. You learned the skill of talking, of communicating. You learned the skill of writing. You learned the skill of math. Like you learned all these different things, right? Even as a child, you learned the skill of negotiating. And the kicker is it started going up over time. You would gain new skills, which gave you more value to everyone around you. And I want us to start thinking about how good is our function. Now, when you talk about purpose, I personally believe that the more you expose yourself to, you will find out exactly what it is that you are ultimately able to do. That does not mean that everything is going to be perfect when it comes to what you function to do in this world. No. There are people who are making a ton of money, who have tons of value to add. There are people who find meaning and worth in a lot of things that, yes, some of it is frustrating. But they do it because of that one piece that lets them know, man, this is why I do this business, right? This is why I serve this way. This is why I do what I do, right? So what you got to understand is your function is what are you capable of doing? And I'm telling you right now, sometimes we've wanted to cap our capacity because we don't want more responsibility. And I'm telling you, increase your function. Increase your function. Learn more. Find a new skill. In today's world, you can get coaching from somebody and learn how to do something in no time. It doesn't take a degree, it doesn't take excuses, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It takes time, but it doesn't take as much time in today's world as it may have before the internet, right? So that's function. That's function. The next one that I want to talk about is I want to talk about rhythm, because rhythm is a really interesting part of life. If there's any book I would recommend, it's a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. There's a chapter in there called Hypnotic Rhythm. I'm telling you right now, that is one of the best chapters to understand how rhythm actually works. Now, for some of us, we don't have bodily rhythm, right? We can't dance. It's okay. It's all right if you don't know how to dance. It's not the worst thing on the planet. But I will tell you, rhythm is created by a few things in our lives. And if we're not careful, they become deep entrenched grooves. What do I mean? Rhythm is built on our habits, and rhythm is built on our thoughts. These two things, when you think about the rhythm of your life, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Let's talk about habits, right? Some of us drive to and from work the same exact way every day, all day, without fail. Nothing changes. As a result of nothing changing, inside of your brain, you're creating a routine. Those routine, after that neural pathway is created in your mind, and it's like, oh, this is the way to go. This is the way we're going to go every day. Awesome. Your brain doesn't have to use as much energy. Thus, when you're driving, there are times that you get to work and from work, you don't even remember the drive. Why? Because now it's become muscle memory. And your brain does not have to turn on in order to get you to and from, because it's the same trip every way all the time. And the only time your brain has to cut on, when? When there's a detour, when there's an accident, when the road is now out, right? Your brain now has to wake up. And what I'm saying is, unfortunately, too many of us have fallen into these really deep grooves of habits that aren't serving us well anymore. They may have served us for a time, right? Like they may have served us for a little while, but they no longer serve us, right? And so we've got to start looking at what is the rhythm, what are the patterns in my life that I constantly do over and over and over again. Here's what I mean. This is one thing I want you to know about rhythms. This is what I want you to start doing. Question yourself. I really want you to question yourself. Listen, if you know that where you are right now is frustrating, or you know in your business things are stagnant, or you know that what used to work is no longer working and that's what's got you frustrated, I need you to question yourself. Not in a bad way, but just saying, hey, well, it used to work this way for a while. What changed? What do I need to change? Am I putting my effort into something that no longer works? We got to learn to question. That way we can start handling these rhythms. All right. So we got function, we got rhythm, right? The next one we're going to talk about is attitude. Yo, I am learning every day that attitude is not what I have been told. Most of us think of attitude as like a negative thing, right? Like, oh, he got a bad attitude, right? Well, I'm learning that my attitude is actually the default way that I approach life. This is the way I look at attitude. My attitude encompasses my default beliefs, and meaning. Why do I say default beliefs and meaning? Because what I've realized is anytime I resist things, anytime that I'm unwilling to change, anytime that I found myself struggling and frustrated about something, one of the things I've had to do is check my attitude. I had to ask myself, what is the thing that I believe right now should be happening that's not? And then I got to say, what does that mean to me ultimately? And if I can start to pinpoint the meanings I'm attaching to things, I can see why my attitude is looking at that, why my attitude is what is making up the way I see things. Because my attitude will draw on my emotions, it draws on my past experiences, it draws on my fears, it draws on my doubts, it draws on my positivity, my future forward thinking. Attitude is using all of these things psychologically, right? And create something. And so when I look at something, and a lot of times when I struggle within business or within my relationships or anywhere, is mainly because my attitude is probably off. Or on the flip side, on the positive side, the reason that I have a good attitude about something, the reason why I can approach something that might be frustrating or might seem impossible to solve, or the reason why I can take on another challenge is because my default belief is that I can figure it out. I'm not going into the next situation of a problem going, I can't figure this out. I'm just literally saying, well, at some point I'll figure it out. Right? And because the meaning I attach to that means that I can solve hard problems and I can do hard things, well, guess what? I'll figure it out. Right? That doesn't mean that everything feels good in the moment. It just means that I'm going to figure it out. Right? So we got that. All right. So we've got function, we got rhythm, we got attitude. The next one we got to talk about, of course, this is why you're here for Massive Action Monday, is we got to talk about mindset. Now, there's so many things, obviously, that you can dive into when you start talking about mindset. But I'm here to tell you that your mindset can be two things. Your mindset can be fixed, and it can always be changing. You know what's interesting? You have choice in the matter. If you found yourself saying at any point, Well, that's just the way I am. That's a choice. I'll never get this right. That's a choice. See, mindset's closest relative is your subconscious. And what I need all of us to realize is that your subconscious could care less about how you feel, doesn't take into account all these other things. It doesn't care about the environment. It does not even look at the frame of anything. It literally takes you seriously. So when your mindset is fixed, it will ensure that everything will make you right. You will never be wrong if you have a fixed mindset. If you have limiting beliefs and you fight more for those than to actually learn something new and to reach higher, guess what? Your subconscious will make sure that you fight harder to stay limited than to actually grow and be better. You just will. That will be the least of your worries whether or not you will change. However, if you choose to say, you know what, I can grow, I can learn. There are new things for me to get. I don't know everything. I'm willing to learn from somebody else. There are other people who know something better than I know right now. Then if you keep your mind in that learning mode, it's pretty exhausting. It's difficult to do, especially when you're having a lot of success. I've noticed that in times where I'm like running on a trend of like winning. I remember like a good example was, uh, you know, my wife and I, really built a relationship before we got married because we had known each other for years, kind of came back together, really built a solid relationship, got married, built the business. The business is up. I mean, it's running. Everything is running on 10, right? And it's real easy to kind of get into like a fixed mindset of that, of like, oh, well, this is just the way it's going to be, or I don't want anything to change, so let's just keep it right here. And if you get there and if you get these series of runs, I'm married, loving life, traveling with my wife, got the money we want to go wherever we want and do what we want to do, doing all the stuff that we want to take care of, paying off debt, like everything was just good at that moment, right? And unfortunately, when you're riding these waves, a lot of times you forget, one, a wave doesn't last. Number two, you gotta be if you want that wave to last a lot longer, then you gotta constantly be in a learning mode. You gotta be uncomfortable with trying. You want to be uncomfortable enough so that you don't get into a fixed mindset, right? So that you don't let your emotions regulate how you operate, right? Like that mindset, and this is something else I'm learning about mindset. For me, my mindset is also determining what I believe I can earn and what I believe impact I can have in the world. It's also determining my work ethic. It's also showing up as a result of everything I put my hands to. What I'm choosing to read, where I spend my time, what me and my wife talk about, what I share with my children. Right? If you have a fixed mindset, you will limit everything that does not fit in your current state of whatever. And I'm going back to what I said earlier here when we talk about rhythm. If you're not willing to question yourself, right? Like today, here's a perfect example. There was one time where I was making about $60,000 a year in my corporate job. Okay. And when I was making that $60,000 in my corporate job, I literally thought, this is amazing. Whoa, here I am. I'm making $60,000 in a year for a corporate job. Let's go. And I was excited. And then I happened to see a video of a guy who happened to say, you should just go ahead and apply to that job that is offering $100,000 a year. And I went, what? Wait, whoa, time out. Why in the world would I go and apply for a job at $100,000 a year? I'm not qualified. I don't have all the experience. They'll never choose me. I was fighting for my limiting beliefs. I was fighting for them. Fighting for them. Because I wouldn't allow myself, because I had a fixed mindset, I wouldn't allow myself to believe that I can even get a $100,000 job. And I had to fight through that. And I remember putting in application. This is back when you were like submitting like a whole bunch of applications, but I was submitting application after application after application. I was getting denied. Application after application after application. Denied. Thank you for the consideration of this role. Unfortunately, we have moved on to another candidate. I read that line so many times, it was like killing me. Like I couldn't believe it. I'm like, why am I still doing this? I knew I couldn't get a $100,000 job. And then one day, I went after this role. And when I went after this role, it was, I just said to myself, listen, it can't hurt. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? And at the time, my wife had to instill in me, like, Chris, go after the role. Like, just go do it. You're going to learn anyway on the job. So why not? Excuse me. So I go after this role. It's months of like interviews, months of back and forth. In fact, I remember they actually stopped going through the process, and then they picked it back up again. And then long story short, I ended up with the job. But my fixed mindset did not want me to believe I could have that at that time, right? That's why mindset is so important, y'all, with everything that we do. All right. So we've got function, rhythm, attitude, mindset. The last one, y'all, this one right here, I'm going to tell y'all right now, this right here is the most important thing. This pushes, this right here is worth everything in life. Experience. You and I have to do a better job. And I'm telling you this, you and I have to do a better job of intentionally giving ourselves new experiences. We have to. We have to intentionally give ourselves new experiences. Stop being mediocre. Stop thinking that, well, I got everything I want. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have everything you want right now. You don't. Sounds good to say because you're afraid to hope. See, we push hope further away than our current reality so that way I don't have to feel like I get let down if something doesn't work out the way I want it to. Let me tell you right now, you and I have to do a better job of having even more experiences in our life. Stop sitting in the house thinking it's just going to happen. It's not. Get out, meet new people. If you get a job opportunity and they move you across country, take it. If you get an opportunity to go somewhere to meet somebody and they're like, hey, I got a day in between, get in the car and drive. But like, we got to start giving ourselves new experiences. Learn from people who think differently than you. Learn from people who think differently than you. I remember thinking that like, man, $1 million a year is a lot. Till I messed around and met somebody who literally makes almost $10 million a month. And then I realized, whoa, wait a second. What am I missing in this equation? Right? That's a normal day for them. And what I realized is the biggest difference is they're not smarter than me. They're also a human. They're not an android. They're not an alien. So how in the world is it they're making that much more than I am? Well, a lot of it is because they're willing to go out and put themselves in new experiences and meet new people and change their network and change their environment and keep changing and keep changing and keep changing it until something happens. That's the difference. They're not satisfied with status quo. So why is experience so important when it comes to your frame? Because when you decide to actually have experience, here's what happens. You learn in real time. Y'all have heard me say this before. You learn in real time. Y'all listen. I know that reading a book is nice. I know that watching YouTube videos like this one is nice. I know that talking about things that you're going to do is nice. What's better is going and doing it and learning on the job. That's the only way you figure it out for real. The theoretical side of the conversation is nice. It helps. But actually putting your business out there, actually scheduling time to work on your side business, actually devoting time that these are the hours during the week that I'm going to be devoted to working on my side business. These are the hours I'm going to be developing content and building my marketing and stuff. These are the hours I'm going to go out and ask people if they will buy my product or service. You and I have to do a better job of improving our experiences. Because that's what's important. That's what undergirds the whole thing. One, so when you have these experiences, you're going to be learning in real time. But here's the other cool part. This is an investment in you, and the return is enormous. The ROI, I'm going to tell you on this, is gigantic. Why? Because once you have an experience, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody. Once you've been told no a few times in your business, nobody can take that away from you. You learn something. You figure out what you need to do as a result. So why is this important? Because again, I just want to go back to the very beginning here. I want to go back to the very beginning. You're like, wait a minute, what does this have to do with the company Rolex? Because what did Rolex do successfully? Number one, remember, Rolex is a non-profit. It's a non-profit. So what am I saying for this Massive Action Monday? Let's go back. How you frame your entire life and business will change everything. It's changing you right now. You and I are a result of how we frame our lives. Once you put a frame around something, think about what Rolex is. It's a watch company. But the frame they've put around that and because it separates the outside, the frame separates the outside world and visually makes you focus here. It's a nonprofit. They don't even let you know that it's a nonprofit. Do you see them running around screaming, hey, we're a Rolex company and we're nonprofit? Nope. What is the frame they put around their business? Oh, we're luxury. We're a high brand. And you should want a Rolex. And I'm not even a watch guy. But when I found out that this company was literally a nonprofit, what kind of frame have they built around their brand? What kind of frame have they built around their business? Could you imagine what it would be like if you and I had a frame that we put that changed the way we show up at home? Husband, wife, son, daughter. Right? What frame are you putting around your family that separates the outside world from what's actually happening in your home to where it increases in value? What are you going to do in order that your side business has a frame around it that makes people go, I gotta go do business with this company? Yes, I'm coming to do work with Sarah. Yes, I'm coming to talk to Todd. Oh, I love the way you guys put that. How do you put a frame around your business so that this becomes clear? Because the outside is no longer important. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, having a frame is really, really important. Rolex has done that, to the T. Y'all, they're a nonprofit company and they figured it out. So let's go back. Let's recap and we're done. What is FRAME? I gave you guys, this is your acronym for this week. Leverage it. Go work this out. Number one, F stands for function. The purpose and skills, they go up the more you start to acquire more skills, okay? Number two, R stands for rhythm. The rhythm of your life. What are the habits? What is your thought life like? Those things, your habits and your rhythms and your thoughts are the rhythms of your life. You've got to figure out what they are, and the ones that are negative, you got to get rid of them. What is the attitude that you're bringing to life every day, right? What do we say attitude is? Your default beliefs and the meaning you are attaching to things. All right? That's A, that's attitude. Mindset is either fixed or you're forever changing it, meaning you're comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're fighting for your limiting beliefs, guess what? You will keep them. They will not leave because your mindset's closest brother and best friend is subconscious. Takes you literally. All right? And E stands for experience. Listen, go and get a new experience. I know these videos are great. You're here for Grow Your Side Business Podcast, Massive Action Monday, but I want you to go out there and actually learn to sell. I want you to go out there and actually try something different. I want you to go out there and ask for help. I want you to go out there and look for your ideal customer. I want you to go out there and ask people questions, because the more experience you get, you're going to get it in real time. And it's the best investment you could ever make, because the return on your investment is sky high when you do so. All right. So listen, thank you all so much for watching. This has been another episode of Massive Action Monday. If you like this, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Go and apply this right now to your life. Share it out in the comments what you've learned. Thanks so much, everybody.